Greetings, Sycamore family.
Hi, we're Tim and Therese Galage.
For those of you who are new to Sycamore, we've been members of Sycamore since the early 90s. But for the last 9 years, we've been with Mission to the World in Cape Town, South Africa. We were last with you in person about a year and a half ago. A lot's changed in our world since then, hasn't it? Before we talk about what's new, we thought we would just take you back to why we're here in South Africa in the first place. I'm a theological educator, and I came to teach at a Bible institute. But since there are so few people on this continent who can afford the time or the money to engage in formal theological education, what has become so critical on this continent is informal theological education. And that's a lot of what I'm doing now as well, working directly with township pastors in poor areas of Cape Town. What I've learned is that classroom teaching isn't enough. It's important and it's essential, but it's not enough to change somebody's worldview. So for the last 4 years, I have been involved in taking some men on a longer discipleship journey, and I've been doing this through a reading group. Now, over the course of these years, we've read many books and Bible, theology, various aspects of pastoral ministry, books on marriage and family. And let me tell you about one of these pastors who's been in this group with me. His name is Thembelani, and I'm going to share my screen with you. And there's Thembelani. And he's been in my reading group since the start. And I have seen his relationship with Christ grow. I've seen him grow in his heart for pastoral ministry. And he's really been excited about what we're doing. And he's come to me and he's asked me if I will help him start a reading group with some young men that are connected with him through his local church. So there's actually about 12 of these young men who are reading books now and are growing and in one way, shape, or form are getting primed for pastoral ministry. And we're praying that this would really take off in their life. Therese is going to tell you a little bit about what she's doing.
Well, I don't have the academic credentials that Tim has, but I do share the same passion he has for teaching God's word and discipling believers. My heart's desire is to point people to Jesus and then help them mature in their faith. And it seems like every year that we've been here in Cape Town, the opportunities to work with women and children has looked very different at different seasons. Sometimes it's been after-school Bible clubs with children. Sometimes it's been one-on-one discipling a pastor's wife. Other times it's been small group Bible studies or book discussions. Occasionally it's even been to be a speaker at a women's conference. But a lot of my life in ministry is something that a lot of you do all the time. It's being a helper. I'm a helper to Tim in many different ways in his ministry. I also keep and care for our home, not only for ourselves and to lift the burden from Tim to have to do much of that, but it's also a base of hospitality that we try to offer to the many people that God brings into our lives. Also, there's just the other things that come up in life. Things like last year being asked to plan for the many details of a MTW vision trip to Cape Town. And then later, Tim and I both served as logistic coordinators for this big All Africa conference that was held last November. That conference was a very strategic time in terms of introducing some new initiatives that MTW Africa is going to be doing. And Tim will tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. 2020, I had expected to be helping in planning a lot of conferences and also traveling with Tim as we went to visit our other MTW Africa missionaries on different fields. But as you well know, the coronavirus changed all that. So since March, Zoom and WhatsApp have been the major tools that we have been using to stay in contact with our ministry partners and for Tim conducting his teaching, having conferences, all kinds of things.
Well, about a year ago, I was asked to be regional director for Southern Africa for Mission to the World. And I've continued to do lots of my teaching and mentoring, but I've added some additional responsibilities as well. In Southern Africa, there are about 10 countries, and Mission to the World is in 3 of them: South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Malawi. And one of the things that I have been tasked with doing is developing a 10-year plan for the region. So there's some things that we're especially focused on for the future. We want to help drive a reformed covenantal Presbyterian church planting movement. Good, solid Reformed Presbyterian churches are really hard to find in our region. And we're hoping to develop partnerships to change this. We're looking for Africans who will own our theology and whom we can come along beside and help them plant churches. Now, these Presbyterian churches that will get planted, they'll need to be part of strong presbyteries. So we'll also want to help build a network of presbyteries. We've already had some pockets of Presbyterians who've asked us to come along and help them with this, and that's what we're doing at this point. Another focus we'll have is church health and church development. Now, there are scores of churches on this continent that are struggling. And they're struggling for any one of a number of reasons. They can be struggling because they're just insufficiently grounded in the Word, or they can be struggling because they're just not properly structured. And there's a whole host of reasons in between. But we want to come alongside some of these churches and help. And we have a missionary colleague who's developed a process where we can help churches deal with some of these issues. Now, there's going to be some other ministries that are needed to develop these initiatives and see them through. Ministries like campus ministry and children and youth ministry and other ministries as well. And we expect to be involved in those types of ministries in the future as well. So there's lots to be done, and we can't do any of this without our great God's help and without good partnerships from our American churches. So one of the things we've done to try to facilitate these partnerships is through the creation of a new board within Mission to the World. And we're calling it the Southern Africa Reformed Mission. Now, this is a board of 13 people, and included in that 13, we have 4 missions pastors and missions directors from large PCA churches. And I'm the chairman. A couple weeks ago, we had our first board meeting. 3 church planting projects were presented to the board, and these are churches that are being planted by African nationals, not by Western missionaries. And our goal is to raise $100,000 to help get these churches established. And that's what our board is going to help us do. So these are some of the things that have occupied our time, but the task is too big. We can't do any of this without your help, without your prayers. And so we thank you for your involvement with us. Well, there's a massive transition ahead for you as Harry and Mary leave. They've been so special to us too. We've had a wonderful 30-year relationship with the Longs that we hope will continue.
Harry and Mary, we want to thank you for your ministry over these many years to Sycamore and to us. We have experienced firsthand your love and care for us in many seasons of life, including up to the present, even as you called to see how we're doing. We so appreciate that. And you have modeled for us what true servant leadership is like, what it looks like, how to love and care for the church through thick and thin. You have modeled that for us, and we so appreciate that gift to us. We have reflected on it many times. Your example has served us well, so thank you for that. And now, as you pass the baton to the next generation of leadership at Sycamore, we will certainly be praying for a smooth transition, but we're also praying for you, both of you, as you enter this new stage in your own lives. We know the Lord has many plans and will use you in the lives of many in the future as well. know that we would love to be with you at your party in September, but of course that'll be impossible to be there in person, but we will be with you in spirit. Thank you so much for your ministry. We love you and we miss you.
Thank you all. God bless.
Thanks. Bye-bye now.